Elio guys, and welcome back. And in today's video, we're taking a look at the newest baby girl, Sariel. So let's go ahead and get right into it here. Alright, so we have the fire version pulled up here, and for whatever reason, I thought she had a gun, but it's actually a cross gun? Gun cross? Something like that? At least from the photo, like it shoots out a cannon or something, or it is a cannon. At least from that photo as well. So very interesting concept right there, but yeah, that totally just like went whoosh across my big giant forehead. But anyways, we have Fire Sariel, who's a balance type, and she's coming in with 31k HP, nearly 3.1k attack, and then 2.9k defense. So fair stat distribution to say the least, and I of course surprisingly am okay with this. But let's go and take a look at these skills here. So one thing I do want to point out here is that she does have the critical boost variant leader skill, aka something that just boosts up the crit rate of your party. Could be very applicable in certain situations, but in most scenarios it's just not the best one to use once your crit rate is high enough across your astromon, because you can give it to something better like crit damage or something of that nature, or discernment, which is a great lead to have in PvP. But taking a look at her 3-star skill, she has SP Siphon, which, you know, it siphons 30% of the enemy's SP, very good for crowd control. And then for the 5-star skill, which indicates that she is an AoE mon, this is very important now, she does have stun, which has a 70% chance to stun the enemy for 2 turns. This kit sounds very similar to Hohenheim, but maybe Hohenheim's slightly different. Like, I do believe she has stun on one move, but something else on the other one. But all in all, I mean, I think it's perfectly okay. Definitely more so of a PvP mon just because of that stun. And 70% chance for 2 turns is pretty fair. It's just, do you want to, you know, invest into getting her to Evo 3 at this point in time? Well, I haven't even stopped reviewing her yet, so hold on, let's get through the rest of them and then we can talk about that. But definitely just a PvP mon, and if you need an SP Siphoner for whatever reason for crowd control, etc., she is still usable at Evo 1, but it's up to you what you want to do with that. But taking a look at the skill books, SP Siphon receives a 15% damage increase and goes up to 35%. Stun also receives a 15% damage increase and goes up to 90% for 2 turns. Pretty decent. It's just that, once again, it's not 5 books, so yeah. We're gonna have to see the other ones before I go out right here and say, oh, do this, don't do this. But yeah, definitely a PvP mon if I've seen one ever in my life. Alright, and then next up we do have the water version of her, who is a defender type, and she's coming in with 27k HP, 2.5k attack, and then 3.3k defense. Plenty of defense up there, could be higher. HP could actually be higher in my opinion too, but you know, fair stat distribution to say the least. But let's go and take a look at these skills here. So for her 3 and 5-star skill, she has exposed weakness, but for the 3-star skill is 100% chance for 1 turn. Not the best, especially because we have other nat 4s that, if you need exposed weakness, has a longer duration for the exposed weakness. Not saying that you need a longer duration, but still, I mean, nat 4 books versus nat 5 books, you do the math. And then for the 5-star skill, there's also the exposed weakness with an 80% chance for 2 turns. Basically just an exposed weakness mon, just like, what's her name, Light Sherlock, and we have a couple of others. They ended up changing one of the Bulbies, but I think Dark Bulby has exposed weakness, etc. here. So her main selling point isn't really to do damage, it's to set up other astromon for damage, which is mainly usable in places like Colossus if your DPS isn't good enough, or the main usage is going to be inside the Apophis dungeon, or basically Titans. That's what it boils down to at the end of the day here. But let's take a look at these books. So the 3-star version of exposed weakness goes up by 20% in terms of damage, 100% for 2 turns, and then for the 5-star version, 20% damage increase as well. And then we're sitting at, what was that, 100%? 100% for 2 turns once again. Definitely not worth the books. I mean, yes, it's nice having extended duration for exposed weakness, but is it necessary? At least in my opinion, absolutely not. And there's cheaper and better alternatives, and we don't know the timing on her at this point in time. But moving forward here, we do have the wood version of Sariel, who is an attacker type, and she's coming in with nearly 29k HP. Why is her HP higher than a defender? Even though she's an attacker. 3.7k attack stat, and then a 2.7k defense stat. That is beautiful. That is a very good stat distribution, especially for a nat 5. Okay, I'm sold. I'm already sold, you guys. So for her 3-star skill and 5-star skill, Lethal Strike, this goes very, very great for the Apophis dungeon, of course. This is her main selling point. And also, if you want to face some of those lovely defense aggressors in PvP, this could be a great idea of bringing her in there too. But once again, the main selling point is just going to be the Apophis dungeon. So if you need some lethal strikers for the lovely Snake Boy here, hopefully this baby girl can deliver, because that attack stat is definitely smiley face gaming. But in terms of her overall books, it looks like both of them receive a 20% damage increase across the board. Not necessary. I guess a few are maybe high level in terms of the lovely Snake Boy, that you could kind of dump some books into here and try and maybe beat the highest score and be the best damage dealer ever for that lovely place. But all in all, I mean, it is what it is. I don't think it's worth the investment, but it is there if you want that extra damage, and this is the only one that you plan to use. But outside of that, I don't really see her being used anywhere else. But don't get me wrong, just because she exists for that specific setup here, it's still important to have. Yeah, because it looks like Wood Acer has Lethal Strike and Predator, which Predator is definitely a weird champ. It's more of a PvP move, I would argue, versus the Apophis. So it's nice that you have a double lethal striker that can either take her place or kind of pair up with her, because obviously you want to use the stronger ones later on in your run in terms of hitting him, versus dumping her out the gate at, you know, the very get-go. But moving forward here, hopefully continuing in with the spice, we do have the lovely Light Sariel, who is also an attacker type. I love to see it. She's sitting at nearly 31,000 HP. Okay, her attack is 3.8k, and then her defense stat is 2.9k, and she is a light nat 5. So that stat distribution is pretty similar to the wood one, even though they love to power up wood astromon and just kind of make them garbage. Luckily, Sariel isn't garbage, at least in my opinion here. But let's take a look at these lovely skills for her. So for the 3-star skill, Lethal Strike, and then for the 5-star skill, it's going to be Attack Up. Once again, this is purely geared towards the Apophis dungeon. There's no other way for me to say it, you guys. I know, breaking news, but this is a great astromon. I could probably see on the right side being paired up with another lethal striker, because that would increase not only her damage output, but whoever that you're fighting with, their damage output as well. So other than that, I mean, I can't really think of any other scenarios of where she would be usable at, of course, other than PvP. So think of the wood one, but not necessarily stronger. She just hits different, if that makes any sense. So if she gets a chance to kind of boost up her attack and then do lethal strike in a PvP situation, you're probably going to be smiley face gaming. But outside of that, I would probably just throw her on the Apophis team and have at it with this lovely baby girl. But taking a look at the skill books, it looks like lethal strike receives a 25% damage increase, attack up receives a 20% damage increase, and goes up to, what was that, 3 turns? Yeah, not worth it. Really not worth it. Unless you somehow got godly rolls into that attack up, that orange just isn't worth the squeeze in my opinion. But it's really up to you. If you're sitting on 5 million Nat 5 books, who am I to judge? Alright, and then last and hopefully not least, we do have the dark version of Sariel, who is a tank type coming in with 50k HP, nearly 51k HP. That is one of the highest HPs in the game outside of Ultimate Evolutions and stuff of that nature, but still pretty decent HP chunk up there for a tank type. 2.3k attack doesn't really matter because she's built for plenty of HP, and then her defense stat is 2.8k. So defense could be a little bit higher, but I understand with that whole HP threshold of trying to keep it a little bit more, I guess, fair, if that makes any sense. But what is Dark Arthur's HP real quick? I'm just curious, man. This is stuff I just have to know. Yeah, so she's higher than base Dark Arthur. Base. I'm not saying higher than the Ultimate Evolution version of him, but higher than the base. So I wonder if she has the highest base HP now. Very curious about that. Nope, never mind. That problem has been solved. It's probably gonna end up going to the lovely Dark Zubaji, but someone else has the highest. But still, just to put it in kind of perspective here, she does have a decent amount if I can actually find her once again here. But let's go ahead and take a look at these skills next. So for the 3-star skill, there's resistance down, 100% chance to reduce the enemy's resistance for 2 turns. This is great, especially for other crowd control mons like Yuki, like Leo, like any other astromon that can either stun, inflict shock, defense down, attack down. Not sure why you're bringing attack down in whatever scenario that you're doing, especially in terms of PvP, but hey, I'm not here to judge. Don't worry about that. And then for the 5-star skill, she does have HP aggression, which is great because it synergizes with her massive amount of HP here. However, it doesn't really synergize with her 5-star skill. So she's kind of setting up other astromon in order for their crowd control skills to hopefully stick. And then on the flip side, she can also do some damage herself, and it also kind of encourages survivability. So with this kit in general though, I still feel like it's more focused around crowd control astromon versus just pure out DPS, because even though you're rocking a aggressor here, part of her main selling point is that 3-star skill, which she's going to get off a hell of a lot more than the 5-star skill. So take with that whatever that you will. But let's take a look at these skill books. So resistance down receives a 25% damage increase, and then it looks like HP aggression also receives a 25% damage increase. So books are kind of meh, but there's really not much else that you could really do with that, because this is pretty much just a PvP mon once again, which I don't think is necessarily bad, but this doesn't necessarily scream something that I would want or actually like be happy to have, if that makes any sense. Because don't get me wrong, there's nothing bad with aggressors here, but it's like I have resistance down and HP aggression. If I want resistance down, there's other astromon that do that same job, and they also have some type of crowd control to go along with their moves. If not, there's other astromon like Griffin, who's accessible to everyone as long as your RNG is decent enough to where you can pair them up with other astromons of the same element and still benefit from that. So in that scenario, it could be risky kind of trying to, you know, use her with a different composition in terms of your team, just because the AoE doesn't really synergize with that resistance down. But at the same time, if you want to pair up with other Darkmon, like, what is it, Dark Valk for example, I could see this possibly working with just a whole bunch of tanky mons, like the lovely Dark Sariel, Dark Valk, Dark Arthur, maybe Dark Cupid or something of that nature. The only downside to that though is that the 3-star skill is just kind of wasted outside of Valk, because who else is going to provide any type of CC? I mean, yeah, we do have Dark Arthur with Sap, but outside of that too, once again, I don't know. It just hits different. I don't think she's bad, but especially as a Darkmon, I don't know. I would definitely say the light one would probably be my go-to if I had any control over it. Heck, I would take all 5 of them. So smart study, if you want to slide all 5 of those astromon to my inbox, please, I won't stop you whatsoever here. But that is the lovely Sariel review, you guys. It seems to be more focused on the Apophis dungeon versus anything else. I don't know why that's been a theme lately, but the lovely Belial, I do want to say, was geared more towards Titans, kind of, and kind of not. So it looks like they may be flip-flopping in between other astromon depending on what type of content that we have going on here. But feel free to leave in the comments below about what you guys think about her. But in terms of who I would like to have the most or build if I had access to all 5 of them, it's definitely going to be the light one first, followed by the dark one because it's light and dark astromon and she could be tweaked in the future. Next up after that though is going to be the wood one, the fire one, and then the water one is going to be dirt nasty last, just because other astromon exist and still can do the same exact job. But if you end up pulling the RGB but you want to get the light or dark, pray to the gods that you can get the light or dark. But always feel free to keep an astromon at Evo 2, because Evo 2 isn't that big of an investment. Evo 3 however, start thinking about your decisions. But yeah, that's pretty much it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, see ya.